Yeah, so at this point, yeah, it's collecting partners, finding folks that are interested in participating. So that's what the recording is going to be for, and hopefully you'll have a chance, if you find folks interested, to recruit. Have you set up practice yet, or are you still working on doing that?
I'm working on setting up practice. My license it won't be issued for another, they have up to 60 days, and I've heard that in the state of California they generally take 60 days, so.
Yes, our state budget crisis has created problems for our oversight industries or boards. I mean, last year there was a question as to whether or not the acupuncture board was still going to exist.
Yeah.
So
we have the same problem with our board. So yeah, I won't be able to start seeing patients for at least another 7 weeks. So right now I'm just, at the point in my career where I'm figuring out who I want to work with and where I want to work. What sort of environment do I want to set up? So this is, a little too, a little far for me.
Right.
But I share a lot of the sentiments that you express, and I believe that it's important to have more research. I participated in research. I was a research assistant during medical school, so I think it's really important, and I think that it's good to bridge gaps. I wonder, had a few friends who are medical doctors who were going to medical school, some at OHSU at the same time that I was in naturopathic school, and it's interesting because the anatomy and the physiology classes are actually maybe not quite different, but different to a degree that I wonder. I love the idea of having integrative, but I wonder how much overlap there really can be.
Yeah, I think at certain stages there's going to be a ton. The survey courses that you take at the beginning, and maybe in grad school you didn't have a big survey course, but certainly in undergrad you go through your survey, chemistry, biology, whatever, if you're doing pre-med, and you've got hundreds of students in that classroom. There are fundamentals that are going to be similar, but there's a level that a surgeon, for example, is going to need more than an acupuncturist. That'll be specialized education. Aside from the fact that I'm not all that concerned about our Western medical schools, and I think MDs I'm not concerned about training MDs. I am more concerned about increasing the level of competence and communication of those schools that haven't been around for 150 years and are struggling against the Western medical lobby.
That's true. You should talk with Bastyr because they have plans of opening a school here. I don't think that they have released the date yet, but they just announced within the last 3 months that they're opening a school in California. And they would be a fantastic school to approach because they promote, they just got a $2 million NIH grant for, I forget what aspect of research that they're doing, but I think it might be on breast cancer or diabetes. Can't recall, but they share similar ideas and have a lot of different programs going on within their graduate school, and have undergraduate programs as well. So yeah,
they're definitely one of the folks that I want to communicate with at some point. Because of the scope of their program, that I think is fairly unique in the country.
And they're neat because all the classes that they, if they have, for their anatomy class, they have a professor, with a PhD in anatomy. And my school was very similar in some of the classes that we have, but a lot of times we would have naturopathic physicians that were practicing, that love teaching, come in and teach our pathology class, or, medical doctors come in and teach oncology or pharmacology or something like that. So they've got an interesting spin on it in that they're taking people who are from, conventionally trained programs and bringing them in. So
and I've had the same thing at ACTCM. One of the challenges with that is that sometimes they would bring in someone who is familiar with the Western side, but not at all familiar with the Chinese medicine side, so there wasn't communication there.
Yeah.
And that made it harder as a student of Chinese medicine to study it and make it relevant.
Yeah.
So that's another reason for the integrated school, where you teach the things that are common between the disciplines. And you have questions come up from the students that are going to reflect their other courses. So you might have in an introduction to biology or chemistry or whatever, the core foundation courses, a question from an acupuncture student who has gone through their intro to Chinese medicine, their first core courses, ask a question, how is this relevant? And then you've got a Western student over there who's studying for naturopathy or osteopathy or chiropractic. So, oh, that's an interesting perspective to come from. And they get a look into how the Chinese medicine applies. And if all of those courses where there is possible overlap, you get more and more linkages, more ties built between the practitioners, as opposed to the way it is right now. You may have Western instructors teaching chiropractic students what they need to know, or acupuncturists or massage therapists, or you've got an acupuncturist going in and teaching physicians. But in that class of physicians, you don't have other acupuncturists, you don't have other students asking, being able to question from the perspective of Chinese medicine. So the only lens that they have is the one that they've developed through their training. So that fosters more of the alternative complementary model as opposed to the integrative model. And practitioners look at other disciplines as separate. And that's, in my opinion, not a way to look at our healthcare system. We have to look at the healthcare system as providing the best care for the patient. What's it going to take to do that? I know that there are some things that I cannot do, that my medicine will not cover. I need to know what medicine will.
Yeah. For me, it's a good point. Sorry, I gotta get
No
going.
worries. We've covered everything, so I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming. I'm glad you're here. Glad I had someone to have a conversation with.
No problem. Good luck with your publishing of that.
Thank you.
And I'll see you again soon, I'm sure.
I am sure.
Okay.
Thanks again.
Thanks, Dad.